Hello, my name is Jim Wood. I'm chair of Wood Communications Group and serve as strategic counsel to Competitive Wisconsin. This brief video is intended to provide an overview and status update on CWI's current Be Bold initiative, that is the Wisconsin Tomorrow Action Accelerator series. For those of you not familiar with Competitive Wisconsin, our mission is to help Wisconsin leaders achieve and maintain the competitive capacity required to protect the state's peoples, communities, and economy. We focus exclusively on structural and systemic phenomena affecting Wisconsin's ability to compete on both economic and quality of life issues. Our criteria for engaging with an issue is that it must have magnitude of impact, there has to be a demonstrable sense of urgency, and there needs to be an ability to achieve change. The process we normally go through involves engagement with affected parties, experts and influences, assessment of information and data, a collaborative identification of options, and finally, the convening of results-oriented action accelerators. From an outcomes point of view, we look for enhanced leadership awareness of what's wrong and what needs to and can be done, informed focus advocacy, and transformational change. The Wisconsin Tomorrow Action Accelerator series emphasis is on strengthening the ability of communities and regions to compete for workers and people in the strategic areas identified at the American Rescue Plan Act Summit we helped co-convene in 2021. More specifically, we are committed to helping communities and regions recruit, attract, and retain workers and people. We believe that to do that, Wisconsin communities have to be strategically competitive in 9 interrelated areas, including early care and education, workforce recruitment and retention, broadband, healthcare, workforce transportation, workforce housing, energy, the development of an opportunity economy, and rural resurgence. The process that we're using with the Wisconsin Tomorrow Initiative involves development of digital context libraries on each of the 9 strategic competitive areas identified and the convening of an action accelerator on each of those priorities. As always, our targeted outcomes are enhanced leadership awareness, informed focus advocacy, and transformational change. To those ends, in the past 14 months, CWI has co-hosted and convened 7 of the 9 action accelerators, including action accelerators on early care and education in La Crosse, workforce recruitment and retention in Eau Claire, broadband in Appleton, healthcare in Mauston, workforce transportation in Janesville, workforce housing in West Bend, and most recently, rural resurgence in Wausau. In the course of convening these action accelerators, we have had an opportunity to interact with nearly 1,000 registrants and are proud of the fact that elected and appointed officials from 63 of Wisconsin's 72 counties registered for one or more of these events. We were also delighted to have had the opportunity to convene these events with such organizations as Momentum West, the Eau Claire Area Chamber of Commerce, Seven Rivers Alliance, New North, Madison Region Economic Partnership, Centergy, and the Greater Wausau Chamber of Commerce. We're equally delighted that a number of regional and local academic, corporate, and economic development organizations have co-hosted these events with us and would want at this point to also note our series sponsors, which include the Wisconsin Counties Association, American Family Insurance, and Wood Communication Group. Our topic sponsors include the Wisconsin Realtors, Madison Gas and Electric, Rural Wisconsin Health Cooperative, the Construction Business Group, Madison Regional Economic Partnership, the Wisconsin Transportation Builders Association, Metastar, Mayo Clinic of Northwestern Wisconsin, Gunderson Healthcare, Dairyland Power, the Wisconsin Medical Society, and Centergy. And lastly, I want to note that our reporting sponsors include WisBusiness, the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association, the Wisconsin Newspapers Association, and Wisconsin Eye. As promised, we have developed a digital context resource library that contains interviews, presentations, panel discussions, and reports from more than 70 Wisconsin officials and other community, regional, and state experts and thought leaders. The combined wisdom and experience of these action accelerators, including the identification and convening, the holding and the building of the context library, have all created an opportunity to identify priorities and action options. We are now entering the next stage of the Action Accelerator process, which is the clarification and establishment of the priorities and engaging employers from across the state in an evaluation of those priorities and active discussions about how best to proceed in achieving them. And with that input, we will then develop specific action agendas for each of those topics that include action outcomes, specific recommendations, resolutions, and timelines. As our actionable recommendations become available, we will initiate advocacy and implementation efforts. And I would note that we will include capital briefings for elected officials and staff based upon the work that we've already done, and focusing on the context, priorities, best practices, sustainability, due diligence, and transition management. At the moment, we contemplate at least 3 different opportunities that we can work with here. One is the digital library material. The second would be a series of progress reports, and the third would be information exchanges. By way of example, we could produce everything you see on this page tomorrow morning. We have it in hand and essentially ready for distribution. The progress reports would include context information, a look at what's happening with ARPA work at the local level and at the state level, a look at how that compares to what's going on nationally, and then get a perspective from the legislature and from the administration. In terms of information exchanges, we're looking at options related to actual presentation opportunities, discussion and Q&A sessions, and elected official briefings and Q&A. And our hope, of course, would be to replicate these kinds of exchanges and information sharing in a series of community briefings. We hope and believe that all of this would take us to a point where we would be in a good position to build support for recommendations and begin to focus on implementations. We can't do it without you. We certainly hope you join us in what we think is a hugely important effort. Thank you for your attention and consideration.